Welcome to the October 24th. It's still the 24th. It's still Sunday. That's how beautiful that Sunday night game was. This is the PFF forecast, and it is time. It is time to listen to Eric Eager explain the Kansas City Chiefs. A lot of answers coming from the doctor on what ails the Kansas City Chiefs. No, he's not that kind of doctor. Plus, we're going to talk about the Bengals. Obviously, they have a statement win against the Baltimore Ravens. Any of the other big takeaways, like what the hell's going on in the NFC. That playoff picture, really interesting. And then we'll get into Week 8. We're going to guess lines and pick our best bets. Let's rock. Okay, I think we have to start with the Chiefs. We were told that the only thing standing between the Chiefs and winning a second Super Bowl in 3 years was their offensive line needed to be fixed. Eric, this is the best way I can sum it up for you. The New York Jets, with a backup quarterback, scored 13 points today. The Houston Texans, with Davis Mills, scored 5 points today. Your Kansas City Chiefs, the preseason Super Bowl favorite, a team that when I bet the Las Vegas Raiders to win the division, I was ridiculed on Twitter for being an idiot because the Chiefs were going to win the division. They are currently 3-4. They scored 3 points. They scored fewer points than the Texans and the Jets, both of them.
Not only that, but the Jets scored 27 points against the Titans like 3 weeks ago. So
what's going on?
Well, they're just not a very good team right now. And maybe that
right now or maybe like this season?
Well, I mean, you've heard my screeds about them. Like when the Orlando Brown trade happened, was I positive about that?
No.
When the Frank Clark trade happened, was I positive about that?
No.
What did I say they should do with Chris Jones?
Keep him on the inside.
No, not even that.
Trade him.
Trade him.
Yeah.
The Kansas City Chiefs have made a series of blunders in their roster building that have been compounded with bad luck, and then have been compounded with the one thing that I didn't think could happen, and they've proved everything that we've sort of said, which is you need tertiary receivers to defeat defenses in the NFL. Defense is only as good as your weakest links, and we saw the weakest links, with Daniel Sorensen. And all of that was true, and all of that about Brett Veach was true. That everything they've done has been suboptimal. Drafting running back in the first round. Their last 4 first or second round picks have been running back, linebacker, center, linebacker. And they wonder why they can't get hot. And these are all things we've talked about. The thing where we've been wrong, or I've been wrong, or the market's been wrong, is thinking that Andy Reid and Mahomes could overcome all of that, because we thought it was that bad bubbling beneath the surface in past, and they did. And I think what you're seeing now is Andy Reid is sort of gone in the shell. There are lots of early down runs for the Chiefs early in games when the game is still decidable. And then Patrick Mahomes is just he's pressing. You can see it there where he's not taking the check down, he's not taking the safe play, and he is playing poorly, which is I think something that none of us thought was possible. That was the one thing that kept that team from being a very flawed team, but they're still elite, to now, I don't know if they can beat a good team.
So, loved the Titans plus 4.5. You love the Titans plus 4.5.
A lot.
I love the Titans plus 4.5.
I was so my Ben Brown, who works for us and I bet with, on Monday night after they won, the Titans won against the Bills, I said, let's put a significant amount on the Titans because I think this number is going to come down. and we got it at 4.5. Probably the biggest bet we've made in a while, and it got to 5.5 by like midweek, and I felt like this humongous donkey. It closes at 4.
I don't know what's changed, but yeah.
It closes at 4, and I think that the thing that you can like come out of this thinking is
the Chiefs suck.
The Chiefs suck. Like,
yeah, that's a good takeaway.
Yeah.
No, but here's the thing. Here's the takeaway though. The Titans scored 27 points. If before the game you said, "Hey, the Titans scored 27 points. Do you feel good about your Titans plus 4.5?" My response would have been, "Not really." The story of this game is not that the Chiefs' defense sucks, and it does. The story of this game is Patrick Mahomes is playing not well at all, and their offense, dare I say, is like the least creative thing this side of the Bears offense, which is the least creative thing that the planet has ever seen. Who deserves the blame for that? I mean, is it Andy Reid? Because is it Mahomes? Is Mahomes holding back Andy Reid? Does Andy Reid not have a scheme? Because I wanted to say this. I wanted to say, you know what? It's not Andy Reid's fault, because all the teams in the NFL that are at the top of the league have like 5 options. You look at Tampa Bay, you look at Buffalo, you look at Arizona, you look at the Rams, you look at the Cowboys, you look at the Chargers, you look at the Bengals, for God's sake. They all have 3+ players that can make plays with the ball in their hands, and the Chiefs have 2. But that said, you look at the Packers. The Packers have 1 receiver.
Yeah. And and LaFleur is creative enough, I think, to get him open, or he's good enough.
You have Kelsey and Hill and Mahomes, and you can't score more than 3 points against the Titans. I get that teams have bad spells. This is the worst spell that we have seen from Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes, pending review, will have 4 games already with a PFF grade below 65. In every single season that he has had so far, he has had 5 or fewer games with a PFF grade below 70.
Well, and people talk about the alarming thing being the interceptions, and I understand that, but like his turnover-worthy play rate going into the game was lower than it had been last year. Mm-hmm. The issue is his big-time throw rate is like half of that. You know, and I talked about this on the live show. It was like 62% of turnover-worthy plays were turning in interceptions from 18 to 21. This year it's actually 72%. Mahomes, the last 3 years, was 46% of turnover-worthy plays were turned into interceptions. This year, going into the game, it was 100%. And
he's getting unlucky.
He's getting unlucky, but they're also not playing well. And the problem is,
do you think? Hold on, I know we're doing what we don't like to do, which is interrupt. But do you think that's having an effect on the number of big-time throws, those great throws down the football field? Like, normally I feel like they're relatively independent, or even I take more chances to make big-time throws. I'll have more turnover-worthy plays. But it's weird. I almost feel like they're more
he knows he can't turn the ball over. So like, and I don't know.
Is he's spooked that like so much of the time he's getting unlucky?
I don't know if Andy is running an offense that is conducive. Well, the issue is like, so we talk about this all the time, right? Like we talk about like the difference, the nuance in play calling, right? Because like I ding Shanahan a lot, and it's not because I don't think Shanahan runs great scheme. I think it's because he doesn't do the run-pass ratio well.
Right.
He doesn't feature he'll draft Brandon Ayuk in round 1. He'll move up for Sermon in round 3. He trades up for Trey Lance. You know, like he does all these. You know, he spends money on Tevin Coleman and Jerick McKinnon, but then the best backs end up being Matt Breida and Raheem Mostert. Like there are ancillary things that go beyond the scheme that screw with that team's ability to be as efficient as it could be on offense, right? Reid has some great plays, but there was always like the sequencing too with him. And I think the sequencing is terrible. And I thought Clyde Edwards-Helaire being injured would help them because they wouldn't, but they've been worse with Darrell Williams. Like Darrell Williams got 21 carries the other day against Washington, and they won, but you know, they ran on early downs today. Like in the first half, Mahomes had 9 pass attempts and Darrell Williams had 7 runs. Like how do you win that way? So it's very clear that like he's lost it, and he has to get it back for this team to win. The problem is they've dug themselves such a hole that I have a really hard time seeing them win the AFC West.
I'm going to tell you about a couple of things, but on the other side of this, we're going to determine how many teams are better than the Kansas City Chiefs right now, and whether Mahomes is still the lock to be the number one pick if you're redrafting the NFL. But before we do, 25% off on any PFF subscription with the promo code FORECAST. Now, we've talked about this a couple of times. You guys that stay up late and watch this show with us, first off, you guys are the best. Guys and girls are the best. We love you all, and that's why we want to give you 25% off. Tell your friends. I'm sure you guys already all have a PFF subscription, but you can give the gift of a PFF subscription for 25% off. FORECAST is the promo code. An Edge subscription for just $9.99 gives you all of PFF's locked article content, our fantasy rankings and projections, our power rankings tool, which Eric and I use all over the place talking about betting, and 0 to 100 PFF grades. Of course, if you get the elite subscription, you get the player props tool, the betting dashboards, all that good stuff. So go to pff.com and make that happen. Okay. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Here's how I think we should do this. I'm going to give you a team, okay? You're going to tell me if you think they are better than the Chiefs.
Okay.
We'll see how far we make it. Tampa Bay.
Yes.
Buffalo.
Yes.
Arizona.
Yes.
Baltimore.
Yes.
Green Bay.
Baltimore, it's close. Baltimore should be down the list too, but it's closer. Yes.
Okay. Green Bay.
Yes. Although Green Bay's flawed too, but yes.
The Rams.
Yeah, fuck.
Okay. We're at 6, I think, if I can count correctly. The Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah.
The
Dallas Cowboys are what the Chiefs aspire to be right now.
The Las Vegas Raiders.
No.
Wow. The Los Angeles Chargers.
I'm going to say no.
Okay. The Tennessee Titans.
I mean, I guess you have to say yes.
Okay. The Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah. Well, yes, probably at this.
I'm going to count that as a yes.
Current form.
I'm counting that as a yes. The New Orleans Saints.
No, stop that.
Okay. The Cleveland Browns.
No.
All right. The Minnesota Vikings.
No.
Oh, if we got to a point where the Minnesota Vikings were better.
I actually snuck a peek at this line for next week, by the way. It's going to be some interesting content.
Of course you did. Okay, so there are 9 teams that you think are better than the Chiefs. And I'm with you. I'm actually a little further along than you. The Chargers right now are better than the Chiefs. And dare I say it, I think the team right now that they're neck and neck with are the Raiders. The Kansas City Chiefs right now are not a top 10 team. Until they figure out how to play offense, which is the only way that they're going to win games, they are not a top 10 team. And I actually think we're giving them still giving them a little bit the benefit of the doubt. Team that has played this poorly, I mean, it is bad. Okay, next question I have for you. We are redrafting the NFL.
Okay.
You have the first pick.
I'm still taking Pat. I'm sorry. Like I think. Let me find some things here.
Is it close? I mean, because who else are you thinking about in that? Like, is it Herbert, Allen, Jackson, Murray?
Allen, but like none of those guys have had the sustained success that Mahomes had.
Right.
And I think like here's an anecdote, and I'm throwing this out here because it just needs to be, you know. So here's Peyton Manning's first 4 years of his career. Rookie year, 3-13, 26 touchdowns, 28 picks.
Mm-hmm.
1999, the 13-3, 26 touchdowns, 15 picks. 2000, they went 10-6. He had 33 touchdowns that led the league. He led the league in passing yards. The Jim Mora year where they went playoffs, you know, where everybody got fired and all that stuff. Manning, they went 6-10. Manning threw 26 touchdowns, 23 interceptions, and
this was like 20 years ago.
But what I'm saying is like, and again, we have not seen these like catastrophically bad years from Brady, who I think we're always going to hold Mahomes like to that standard, even if it's unfair. But like we've seen quarterbacks have stretches like this. The problem, like, and it's why I make Mahomes better. It's like all these quarterbacks are great. Josh Allen deserves to be in the conversation. Justin Herbert deserves to be in the conversation. Dak Prescott deserves to be in the conversation. All of them have had dips in their career. Mahomes, this is just the second game that he started in the regular season where they've lost by more than one score. You count the Super Bowl, that's 3. Now, those 3 games have all happened in his last 8 games, so that's obviously a thing. But, like, they have stretches like this, right? Like, Brett Favre had 2 seasons where he threw a lot more interceptions and touchdowns. Yeah. And, like, so a lot of where you can err in analyses like this is not seeing the Bengals, right? But I think every time you miss on a team that's up and coming a little bit, you make fewer errors by overcorrecting at times, right? Like we overcorrect on Bridgewater. Where like Von Miller's like, I haven't played with somebody like this since 18. It's like, okay, well, you beat the Jets, and stuff like that. I think you do have to cling to your priors a little bit, and I don't know if Mahomes has done enough to completely ding me off that.
On the flip side, though, you could say, how bad is it to look like this when you have such a great set of surrounding variables? Like Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce are arguably either the best or second best player at their position.
Yep. And
they just spent all this money on the offensive line. And Andy Reid's a great offensive, so like where is it? Is it Andy Reid calling the bad plays? Like there's something there.
Well, isn't it just a little bit of everything? It's
yeah, maybe.
You traded a first-round pick. Again, you are not good at premium positions on this team. Wide receiver, yes, you're great. Quarterback, yes, you're great. Corner, Mike Hughes is a former bust. Frank Clark sucks. Like you spent draft capital on poorly, right? And now it's coming home to roost.
Yeah.
And it's having a cascading effect.
Football's
not an independent game.
Because here's the thing. I'm still taking Patrick Mahomes 1-1 as well. And the reason for that is if you look at the way he's played, it's not as if his talent has gone away. He still has the most talent of any quarterback out there, from arm strength, ability to evade the rush and still make incredible throws. He's still an incredible scrambler. Thank you, over rushing prop, a cinch. But I think it's at least a conversation. And the player that I'm putting up there is Kyler Murray, who, pending review, is going to have, and listen very closely here, not the highest overall grade, but the highest passing grade. Think about that for a second. This is a guy that is as electric with the ball in his hands as a runner as there is, and he is throwing the ball. We talked about how great he had been on intermediate throws last week. Top 5 PFF grade on intermediate throws after being 25th or worse each of his first couple of seasons. That's the guy to me that's in the conversation. I'm at least thinking about it.
Yeah,
but you're right. You have to take into account
his
all
current form is great. Like I think with Murray, you watch today's game, and on that safety, which is the only thing keeping Arizona from being one of 4 teams that only scored 3 points on the road today.
Yeah.
That safety, he looked injured, and he came back and played extremely well. But of course, the injury bug and the Cliff Kingsbury regression as a play caller is always there.
Yes, but he's doing that. My point is that he's doing that with Cliff Kingsbury and the corpse of A.J. Green as receiver number 2.
Yep.
Okay? Patrick Mahomes has Andy Reid, Tyreek Hill, and Travis Kelce. So, that needs to be taken into context. Okay, let's do this real quick before we get to a couple of the other big storylines. The NFC, the Cardinals 7-0, the Bucs 6-1, as are the Green Bay Packers, and the Los Angeles Rams. The Cowboys are 5-1. So you look at that. That's 5 teams that have 1 or fewer losses. They're making the playoffs.
Yeah. It's really hard to see.
So now you have 2 teams. You have 2 spots out here. And this is really interesting to me. Who do you think out of the NFC is getting those last 2 spots in the playoffs? Right now, if it finished today, it'd be the Saints who play tonight. Not quite
and the
tonight.
Minnesota Vikings, right?
And the Minnesota Vikings, yep. Our Falcons still live.
Yeah, I hate to say this, but like if they wouldn't have just blown that game at home to Washington, they'd be 4-2 right now. It's the life of a Falcons backer. Although they didn't cover closed today, but they covered closed. They didn't cover open today as a 1.5 point favorite. I mean, I think like if you look at the North, right? Detroit's out. It's really hard to see Chicago doing anything. Mm-hmm. Although last season they lost 6 games in a row and somehow got it together. You look, Carolina, who just took Minnesota to overtime and scored 28 points against them, were only able to score 3 against the Giants, right? I think if you look at the NFC East, there's not 3 teams that are any good there other than Dallas. You look at the West, I just saw this stat. I don't believe it. Mike Singletary has a higher career win percentage as the head coach of the 49ers than Kyle Shanahan does.
No way.
And I don't.
That's the stat of the season.
That's horrible. But
oh my God.
And I know there's a ton of context. I mean, Shanahan, whatever. It is what it is. But you look at the West, and I mean, if Geno Smith can get the Seahawks together, but they're not, right? The West might just give you 2 playoff teams. So you have 3 wildcard teams. The West gives you 2. The South probably gives you 2.
So you think the Saints make it?
I think the Saints are good enough to make it.
Yep.
That leaves Minnesota. And I think Minnesota's probably good enough to do it. Now, the issue is with Minnesota's schedule, you look at their upcoming schedule, it's freaking hard. And every single team in the NFC North has a top 10 schedule in terms of difficulty moving forward. So there's a lot of tests here for Kirk Cousins and company.
Yep. Minnesota with the 4th hardest schedule remaining.
And if you look at it's mostly the upcoming, the next 4 right out of this bye here are extremely tough. They got Dallas, they got
So here's the thing. I think
Baltimore.
that New Orleans squeaks in as well. I'm going to say this. I don't think the Seahawks are quite dead yet.
Yeah.
If they get Russell Wilson back, that's how bad I think the rest of these teams are. The chasm between the good teams and the bad teams in the NFC is really, really, really wide. Obviously, the Panthers.
There's also a chance for the 49ers to get it together, too, because, I say Minnesota. Here's the Vikings' next 5 games. Dallas, Baltimore, Chargers, Green Bay, and then at San Fran.
Yep.
So, San Fran is, behind Minnesota by a game, but you can imagine them getting it together enough. I mean, they're 4-point favorites against Indianapolis today for a reason. If they get it together, you could see that. You can imagine that. And then the Vikings also play Pittsburgh, Green Bay again, and the Rams. It's going to be hard for the Vikings to get to the 9-10 wins that you need to get the playoffs. But as far as fundamentally, they have a quarterback playing as good as anybody right now, and they don't have a lack of talent at receiver, which is important. So the NFC is going to be weird. There's going to be maybe a 500 or below team that makes the playoffs.
All right, moving to the AFC. The Cincinnati Bengals are the number 1 team in the AFC right now. And I'm just thinking back to draft season when so many people were up in arms with the Bengals taking Jamar Chase over Penei Sewell. And you never want to run an early victory lap, but I think you can run a victory lap right now if you were one of the smart people out there who was talking about, hey, no, they should take Jamar Chase. He gives Joe Burrow the opportunity to have a potentially great season for that offense to be really good. They're 5-2, 2-0 in the division, 3-0 in the conference.
2-0 road on the division too.
Yeah, true. Raiders are also 5-2. So are the Titans. Raiders obviously atop by virtue of the fact that the Chargers had a bye this week, atop the AFC West. Titans atop the South. The Bills had a bye this week as well. They are atop the East. Are the Bengals for real?
I think you have to take them seriously now. Yep. And I was wrong a little bit. Oh, no, I was wrong. I thought, on the PFF live show, which NFL live show, which is every Sunday morning at 11, I looked and I said I liked the Ravens today. We liked the Ravens in a teaser on our look ahead lines last week. And I thought to myself, okay, the last year's spread between Bengals and Ravens when Burrow was in the lineup was 12.5. And it was 6.5 this week, depending upon where you got it. And I said, look, I think it's extremely reasonable to say that the Bengals have improved and that improvement is real, and still say it stops short of a 6-point improvement. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I know there are other factors, but even you're talking about a multiple point improvement over last year. And I think a couple of things are clear. And I said this on the show this morning. Baltimore has 2 really impressive wins, a win against Kansas City and a win against the Chargers. Mm-hmm. The Kansas City win looks a lot less impressive now than when it happened. And the Chargers, you know, if you look at some of our fundamentals, the Chargers are kind of a lucky team, right? Aside from that, you have a loss to the Raiders, a game that you blew, a game where you needed a historic field goal to beat Detroit, who has still not won a game. You know what I mean? Like, yep. I think the Ravens maybe were less impressive going in than we thought. And they're a team that, after years of investing in that defense and having a very depth-filled defense, today found out what it's like not to have as many good corners. And Cincinnati is finding out the bounty that you can have when you have multiple good wide receivers. That was always the promise of Chase. You put Chase with Higgins, a second-round pick last year, and Tyler Boyd, a multiple-time 1,000-yard receiver, and you can play good offense.
Yep.
And then on defense, sneakily, the Bengals don't have that many weaknesses. Their secondary is fine. Their linebackers are okay, and they get good pass rush, as we saw today. So, yeah, the Bengals are for real. I think, you know, they have a really hard schedule coming into today. They had the second hardest schedule moving forward, so that's obviously something to keep your expectations. But, you know, they're a missed field goal away from being 6-1 at this point.
My stat, I had a great Kyler Murray stat last week. My stat of the week this week is Joe Burrow. You know what the Ravens like to do? They like to blitz. In week 5 last year, Joe Burrow and the Bengals faced the Ravens, and he had a 29 PFF grade against the blitz. That's not good. By far, his lowest PFF grade against the blitz all year. He had about pending review, an 80 PFF grade against the blitz. He went 11 for 17, 267, 2 touchdowns against the Ravens blitz. In week 5 last year, he went 10 for 18, 78 yards, 2 interceptions. That is a massive improvement. And if you're telling me that Jamar Chase getting open early in routes, having confidence throwing him the football doesn't change that, then I don't know what game you're watching. But Joe Burrow's improvement, I mean, he has a 93 PFF passing grade against the blitz this year compared to a 66 last year. That is incredible, and that's why the Bengals, I think, are for real. They play the Ravens next week. What would the spread in that game be? Neutral field.
Ravens, Bengals, neutral field, Ravens -2.5.
Yeah, and that, I think, is really impressive.
I mean,
really, really impressive. Well, remember at preseason when we were talking about like who will win more games, Steelers or Bengals. Like, I'll take the Bengals.
Yeah,
like,
everybody
easy.
was like the Bengals. Yeah,
easy.
But we also let me find this because I would be pretty proud of this. Coach of the year, I do have some Zach Taylor.
Oh no.
I also have Zach Wilson Rookie of the Year, so don't crown me yet. I have here are my 3 Coach of the Year bets, and you'll laugh at all these. Zach Taylor 30-1. Matt Nagy 30-1.
Oh, buddy.
Joe Judge 20-1. Because you know the Joe Judge being a football guy.
Yeah.
We bet that on the show back when we were doing the show remotely when you were in LA for a month. I also have Matt Corral 27-1 to win the Heisman at the same time. So I'm pretty excited about that.
Congrats.
But the Zach Taylor thing was very much this way, right? Like, the Coach of the Year is not necessarily who did the best job. It's who overcame expectations. Yep. And if you're a coach who is in the top 5 for who's going to get fired, and then you're taking a team to a division title or near that, you're going to win Coach of the Year, right? Like, and so good on him. That was another reason why I liked, and I was texting back and forth with somebody who's very close with the Ravens, and I was like, and they were like, who do you like in this game? And I was like, well, I like that. I like you guys. And it was like, and I was like, here's why. And I'm like, I also think Harbaugh and you guys, I think Harbaugh's staff is just so much better than Cincinnati. Maybe we have to reevaluate that. And I said this on the live show this morning, Or when you look at the best teams in the NFL, maybe it's just the right people who are getting the most power. So you look at Dallas, and we're all going to talk about McCarthy and his end of game stuff and his clock management stuff, and it's all awful. But like, who has the power over that team? It's Dak and Kellen Moore. Who has the power over the Bengals? It's Joe Burrow, right? And at some point, that you can overcome a coach who maybe might not be the best if you have a QB like that.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to get to Week 8. Before we do, if you're looking for a place to bet, and we're going to talk about some bets that we like, I would highly recommend you go download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. They're the official sports betting partner of the NFL, and they've got you covered. New customers, use promo code PFF, and bet just $5 on any NFL team to win their game. And if they do, $200 in free bets. That's pretty beautiful. So you can then take those and put them on quarterback rushing props, because what else are you going to bet them on? Remember, that's all new customers. You also get a free shot at $1 million in total prizes with your first deposit. So go over to DraftKings Sportsbook, make that happen, promo code PFF, and bet $5 on any NFL team to get $200 in free bets. You must be 21 or older, New Jersey, Indiana, Pennsylvania only. New customers are the ones that are eligible. Minimum $5 deposit, $1 wager required, one per customer, restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Also, once you win, you might be looking for a good way to make your money grow for you, and that's where Western and Southern come in. They are one of our favorite sponsors because they're looking to make your money work for you, and they're teaming up with our boss, Chris Collinsworth, to share insights that can help you figure out the best way to make your financial scoreboard sway in your favor. Want to hear about his old playing days, or behind the scenes with Al on Sunday Night Football, or anything you need to know about your financial future? Now you can go ask both by going to westernsouthern.com/askchris. That's westernsouthern.com/askchris. Put your question in and watch on YouTube or listen to his podcast to hear your question read live. Remember, that's Western and Southern. Okay. Week 8. Ready to rock?
Oh, show.
Thursday night. It's a beautiful game. It's the Green Bay Packers and the Arizona Cardinals. By the way, I realized we didn't really talk about the Titans. We talked all about the Chiefs sucking. The Titans played really well. We will talk about them here because they play the Colts.
They're an enigma. Yep.
Yeah. Packers Cardinals. What do you have this?
I have this. This is great radio here. Let me.
I'll go first.
No.
I have the Cardinals.
Go for it.
Favored by 3.
I have the Cardinals favored, and I think I'm off 4.5.
Wow, it is 3.5.
Yeah. I don't think I can lay 3.5, but
I think it will be 3. Ultimately.
Yeah. Ultimately.
Yeah. Okay, so talk to me about 4.5.
Yeah. I had nothing on Washington this week. We had Green Bay in our lock of the week, which now are 5-2, by the way.
Just like the Bengals.
Just like the Bengals. Are we for real? I don't know. But a lot of really smart people I know that I follow on Twitter, I just talked to, had Washington, and it was excruciating. And
it was
Green Bay covering that number. Mm-hmm. So it was 9.5 open. It was 7 at one point. Darius Butler, our buddy who comes on the live show, he liked Washington a lot as well. You have to be aware too, though, by the way. One thing that's a trap is when a team opens as a 9.5 point dog and it slides down to 7. A lot of times what's happening is like those numbers in between aren't worth 7.5. I'm sorry, 7.5. It gets through 7. That's meaningful. But those are like the teaser protected numbers, so they'll oftentimes slide all the way down. Those numbers will move more quickly, so it doesn't necessarily mean as big of a move. But a lot of smart people, were on Washington, and I think it's the market's lack of respect for Green Bay. I think they treat Green Bay a lot more like they treated them in 19 when they were a low point differential team and they were winning close games and they had a great record and Aaron Rodgers was playing okay, but not like really great football. And this game today against Washington was very much like that. I mean, you only scored 24 points. Game went under. Green line liked under. If you go under that number, despite how bad Washington's defense has played this year, there's some red flags there for me. So I obviously Green Bay's in the driver's seat for the NFC North and possibly a bye in the NFC at some point. But I actually think Arizona is stronger than they are. And so that's where I'm going then.
I would bet Green Bay. I'd take Aaron Rodgers getting more than a field goal. And the reason is very simple. It's Aaron Rodgers. And especially on a short week, LaFleur versus Kingsbury, I think that's a mismatch. I don't think there's anyone on Arizona that can cover Devontae Adams. And that's not a shocker. So the way that the Cardinals win this game, in my opinion, is they dominate up front, and Aaron Rodgers is continually under duress. He can't get the ball out quickly enough, and that's how the Cardinals win this game, because I think the Cardinals will be able to put up points on the Packers here. That said, because of what I just mentioned, I do see like oh my God, the Cardinals are for real. They like lay the smackdown on the Packers being a possible outcome at home. But if I had to bet one side of this, I'm definitely taking Aaron Rodgers getting more than 3.
Okay, so I think we disagree there, but that's I think it's reasonable.
So you'd take Cardinals minus 3.
If you gave me a flat 3, I'd take Arizona. Okay. Yeah, but I don't think I would take 3.5. I don't think that there's enough there for me.
Okay, Bengals Jets in New York. What do you have?
I said the Jets should get 9.5 at home.
All right, I had them getting 6.5. Where is this? I guess we don't have it up here.
Is that because because Zach Wilson's hurt,
yes,
right? So we don't have
per Jeff Sherman at Golf Odds, who's the Superbook Sports VP of Risk Management, great follow, tweets it out every week before Sunday Night Football. You were dead on with this. Cincinnati is minus 9.5 in New York.
I'll say this, like, we're just to be transparent, like, we, for some teams, put what's called a tank label on them, because oftentimes, and our friend Ben Baldwin tweets out like our power rankings and stuff, and like there are just certain power rankings that mash up, and you're not going to be able to get like 20-point spreads. You're not going to be able to get 17-point spreads. And one of the things that we thought this season going in was that Houston and Detroit were tanking. So we put a tank variable that reduced their prior to a pretty high level, and it helped with back testing and stuff, so I went with it. I also did it for Philly, by the way, which I actually think has been smart because, for example, we got Vegas today.
They definitely aren't tanking.
They aren't taking, really, but I don't think they're very good. I think I mistakenly did not put the tank label on New York, and I have been wrong about New York all off season. I've been wrong about New York basically the whole season except for the Tennessee game, and especially if Mike White's the quarterback, but even with Wilson. I mean, you're talking about a team that got their first passing yards in the first quarter of a game this week. And it was hilarious because we were upstairs in the office, and it's kind of a gong show up there. When he threw the ball and they got a first down in the first quarter of that game, it brought the house down.
Yeah, of course.
And so, but I think if I don't do this, we're going to be on the Jets the rest of the year. And I
refuse.
There's nothing.
You tried to talk me in. You said, if you don't bet the Jets +7 now, you should never bet them the rest of the season. I'm never betting them. Yeah. I didn't bet them +7 now, and I ain't betting them the rest of the season.
New England, who has been very up and down this year, had all their dreams come true today against the Jets.
I was obviously low on this, but there's no way I'm betting the Jets. I don't care if it's 9.5 at home.
Here's what I'll say about this bet too, and I think that there's some. I don't know how to codify this, so this is purely qualitative. Teams like the Jets pound the shit out of teams like the Jets in this spot.
It's 8.5. Okay. Heavily juiced, I see on Pinnacle.
Teams like the Bengals pound the shit out of teams like the Jets in situations like this. Teams that are up and coming. Think of Arizona like last year, right? That's kind of what the Bengals remind me of, right? They're starting off hot. They got a young quarterback in year 2. They got a coach that everybody's kind of like, eh. But like, give a team like that is trying to prove something, and they're going to wallop a pumpkin like the Jets. So if anything, I wouldn't mind taking Cincy in a teaser. If it's at 8.5, that would be a thought process to me.
I'm here for the Cincy teaser. Titans and Colts. Colts obviously just won on Sunday night. Titans destroyed the Kansas City Chiefs.
Thanks, man.
The Titans have now beaten the Bills and the Chiefs in back-to-back weeks. With banged up, their receivers banged up. Really has been pretty impressive by the Titans. And
the digestive system of one A.J. Brown banged up. Mm-hmm. So isn't this weird? Like, I just want to a small rant. I think it's kind of weird that the NFL got both Titans Colts games out of the way by week 8. Like, who's out to lunch with this schedule?
That is surprising.
Like, because these.
I gotta say this though: when you put the schedule together, the AFC South isn't the first thing that you make sure you.
But these teams should be playing in week 18, shouldn't they?
Who cares? They're playing in week 8. So what do you think the spread should be?
I think Tennessee should be laying 2.5.
Okay, I had Tennessee -1. Let's see here.
Sunday Night Football just happened.
It is.
I don't see
pre Sunday night. It was Indy -1. Interesting.
If you made Indy a favorite in this game, I will back the truck up for Tennessee.
So do you think it's Indy? If that was pre-Sunday night, Indy 1 is a 4-point underdog.
Yeah.
This has got to get out to like.
I'm putting Tennessee in every teaser that's imaginable if they're at 2.5.
Even 1.5. Get me out to +7.5.
Tannehill looked like, so Tannehill did not play well in the Buffalo game until the fourth quarter. Mm-hmm. Tannehill played well the whole game today. Indy's fine. This game, by the way, you remember when last year on Sunday night when New England beat Ravens and it was this monsoon?
Yep.
Indy, I felt like New England was like, immensely prepared to win a game like that at that time. Indy's the kind of team to win a game like what happened tonight, aren't they? Right,
well, especially when you're playing Jimmy G.
Yeah. So if people buy too much into the Colts, Tennessee's a good value, I think.
I'm with you there.
People are thinking letdown spot. That's maybe why they're giving the Colts more points than they should. I don't know.
Yeah, letdown spot, but also it's a division game.
And this week was a letdown spot for Tennessee, and they did not let down.
Mike Vrabel does not let down. Rams Texans in Houston. I have Houston getting 14.
I said 14.5.
And it is,
which is where the number is in this
14.5. Yeah. Yes. Good job.
I don't want anything to do with this game. No.
Yeah, neither do I. By the way, Spunky by Jared Goff today.
Is it too late now to say sorry if you're McVay?
Came out to play.
That hug was weird. Our friend and former colleague Zach Robinson gave a much more affirmative.
Of course, that hug was weird.
Yeah, much more affirmative dap and hug than McVay did.
Jay Glazer told a story about how they saw each other at a restaurant. They had not spoken because Jared Goff hung up on him when McVay called him, and then they saw each other at a restaurant in L.A. sitting a couple of tables apart from one another. McVay was there with coaches. They didn't say who Jared Goff was there with. I'm assuming it's his girlfriend. And I guess McVay went over and was really, quote, cordial for a minute and then walked away. I wish I had seen that. That would have been incredible.
Why is when they traded Goff? I guess
also,
no one's.
Who gives Glazer that story? Do you think? Is it one of the other
McVay probably, or
I don't think so. I think it had to be an assistant coach, right? Who tells him that story.
My thing is
incredible get.
I know you're not in no offense to Detroit, but you're not in a huge hurry to move from LA to Detroit. So maybe that's why he was still in town after they booted him from the team.
Oh yeah, I'm not surprised by that.
Yeah, but that was I still think it's kind of weird. I still think it's weird to show up places where you think that there's any possibility the team that the stuff they used to say about this
LA's
guy.
a big city.
That's what I'm saying. You can avoid them, right?
Right. That's why I'm very curious what restaurant it was.
Yeah.
Also, not surprising, but no one else cares. Steelers and Browns. This is in Cleveland. This will be Case Keenum against Big Ben Roethlisberger. By the way, I thought this was interesting. Patrick Mahomes and Big Ben Roethlisberger have made the same rate of big-time throws this year.
I have Cleveland laying 2.5 against Pittsburgh.
Just had to throw that out there. I have Cleveland laying 1.5, and it is 3. Oh, no.
We're not betting Pittsburgh. I'm sorry. I have a religious exemption from that. Sorry.
I mean, Case Keenum favored by 3.
It could be Baker.
Defense.
It could be Baker, too.
Isn't he getting surgery?
Is that true? I don't know.
He needs surgery, and he's out like 4 to 6 months.
Yeah, but he could get it after the season,
I guess.
was like the point, yeah.
Okay, so is this assuming Mayfield then?
I don't know. If I would say the sportsbooks probably don't give a fuck. They like lay it on 3, right? And they'll just change the juice depending upon who's playing.
Huh.
I mean, Keenum healthy is. Did you see his interview with the his interview with the NFL Network crew after the game?
Yeah.
He did this like skit where he was like, "They're like, are you ready?" He's like, "You don't have to get ready if you're always ready." And then he was like, and he like walked out. It was actually kind of endearing. I kind of like him, but I think Mayfield like kind of hurt is
potentially rough. It's the same thing we talked about against.
I don't know what would you make if you had Cleveland with hurt Mayfield versus Cleveland with Keenum.
It's like a 1 point.
Yeah, that's what I think. So if it's sitting on 3,
and I'm not crossing 3, that's for damn sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm tempted by Pittsburgh. I can't believe I'm saying that. I'm tempted though. Eagles, Steelers coming off a bye. I'm just saying. Eagles and Lions, what a game.
Cleveland coming off of a extended. For the second straight year, Pittsburgh kind of gets screwed by the bye.
There, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Although the Browns are banged up, man. Like OBJ's banged up.
Big Ben's banged up too, though.
That's fair. Eagles, Lions in Detroit.
That one's interesting. I have Detroit getting 3.5 at home.
Yeah, I have the Lions getting 3.
And
3.5.
It's 3.5 or 3. If you want to take Detroit, you want to take the points with Detroit. It's +3, even money. I actually like that. I'm going to bet that. Actually, I think that's value. Don't you?
Betting Detroit here?
Yeah.
But you just said 3.5, and it's 3.
Yeah, but this is before the games happened today, right? So like. I'm thinking my priors on Philly are right, which is that they suck. Mm-hmm. And I know Detroit sucks, but...
Yeah, it's also -3, -120.
Right. So, but like I'm thinking you can get... Yeah, it might not. What do you think the number is going to do here? Will it get out to 3.5?
Ah, man. I purposefully don't think so because I would bet Detroit if it was 3.5. I think.
But what I'm saying is I'm getting 3 at basically +100. I'll take that as sort of a
Sure. 49ers Bears. My God.
Speaking of Mike Singletary.
Yeah, the Chicago Bears. That was brutal, man. And I don't want to sit here and just bury Matt Nagy. It's not even fun anymore.
It's not even that, too, but like Fields is not making great decisions. I can't imagine he's being coached well. Is this a situation that's like...
Their offense lacks so much creativity. They never run with any pace. It's just, Ryan, it's just brutal.
Is this even up? I don't see it on my sports book here.
Well, probably because Sunday night just ended. I had the Bears getting...
And they don't know the quarterback for the
I had
Niners.
the Bears getting 3 points.
I had the Bears favored by 1.5.
Wow.
Yeah. I think I'm wrong. I'm obviously wrong.
Yeah. Pre-Sunday night, it was San Fran favored by 4.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, could I ask, like, we'll only cross this bridge for a small amount of time. I'm clearly wrong on the Bears here. Is the floor for Justin Fields what Jared Goff experienced in LA, which is you have a decent-ish roster, right? Mm-hmm. The Rams went 4-5 with Jeff Fisher, and then they benched Keenum for Goff, and then they went 0-7. Right. They got everybody fired. And then McVay comes in, and Goff looks like a Pro Bowler for a couple of years. I think, obviously, Fields has better fundamentals than Goff, but maybe not. Fields is picked 11th. Goff is picked 1st. Is the floor like, hey, a good coach comes into Chicago and makes Justin Fields look good? Because not only is it Fields, it's Allen Robinson. Allen Robinson had like 2 catches today for like 16 yards. It was gross. And it's just, but then that's not meaningful right now to bet Chicago, because they're a sitting duck here, a lame duck, or whatever you want to say, because they're just simply not utilizing their best player.
Of your comparison there was nothing to do with quarterbacks. It was that in that comparison, Matt Nagy and Jeff Fisher are the two people that you're comparing.
Well, don't you think?
And that's unfair to Jeff Fisher.
8-8 for the last 2 years.
That's unfair to Jeff Fisher.
I mean, Matt Nagy has just done what Jeff Fisher did and condensed it in 3 years.
Jeff Fisher at least was cool while he did it.
Yeah, for sure. But like Jeff Fisher had a bunch of good years with the Titans, and then settled into 8-8, 7-9 for like a decade. Matt Nagy just did that in 3 years. He had 12-4 year, and then he had 2 8-8 years, and this year's going to be kind of 7-10.
BU. I don't know, and I also don't really know what the Niners are doing here.
Are you ready to seriously consider the Shanahan thing, or do you still think, as I lean, although I have been a skeptic of Shanahan before, but I lean this way, that a lot of just shit happens to the Niners. And like
I was wondering the same thing. Like, at what point are you questioning their training staff?
Yeah. Well, yeah, because it's also they don't make good decisions about players. And I don't know how much of that is, like, Brandon Ayuk looked really good last year. Like, really good. And he couldn't buy a target from Kyle Shanahan's quarterbacks right now.
Yeah, I don't know.
And like the running back position, obviously, and who was that running back they took in the 4th round because Shanahan had to have him? What was that? He basically negotiated 1 draft pick in round 4 to pick like a running back. It was Joe Williams was his name, and then he never made the team. Like, again, I think their coaching is multifaceted, and I think Shanahan's really good at scheming stuff. I think he's bad at almost everything else.
I can't really argue with that. Panthers, Falcons in Atlanta. Our Falcons. I have the Falcons favored by 3.
Our Falcons, we need them. One more week. If we can get a dub here. I have Atlanta -3.5, which means I'm betting Atlanta this week because it is -2.5.
It is -2.5.
Do we like them?
I'm kind of with you.
Can we? Because
oh God, this is how it starts.
Yeah, this is how it starts. So does Sam Darnold just have an amazing game?
This is how it starts. We can't bet the Falcons. We can't do it.
Why?
It's how it starts, man.
It is how it's. Do we not want to test our win totals?
They lure you in. I'm going to need to think about this one a little bit more. I mean, Sam Darnold has looked like a complete pumpkin.
I mean, he got benched today.
Yeah.
Like bench.
Yeah, I mean, I'm more worried about PJ Walker, to be honest.
Yeah, if they put if the Panthers would have started PJ Walker the last 2 games, they'd probably win. That's how bad Darnold's been. And that's how like pumpkinish their opponents have been. The Vikings and then now today the Giants. That was a winnable game.
Yeah. Short favorite. Man, I do like
No, we're not betting the Falcons because this is how they get you. They're short favorites. Oh, they'll win. The Falcons will win this game by 1 on a Younghoe Koo field goal after they've given up the lead, and the same exact shit we had to deal with today. Yes. Luckily, everybody and their grandmother liked the Dolphins in that game because then it went from 2.5 down to 1.5, and we got the cover on game day. If you bet money line like
Plus
we did,
they were
like
part of our Lock of the Week teaser.
Yeah, well, and that the Dolphins knew what it meant. They came back and got it for us.
When I saw Tua's second interception, I was like,
dude,
they're calling for Deshaun Watson right now, who, by the way, better be on the commissioner's exempt list within 10 seconds of that trade going through, or else we riot. Dolphins, Bills in Buffalo. Bills coming off of a bye. Dolphins off of a tough loss to the Falcons. I have the Bills favored by 14.5.
Bills off of a bye.
I'm sorry, 13.5 is what I have.
I said 12.5.
It is
divisional game.
13.5.
I'm not betting the Dolphins. I'll tell you that much.
Same here. Bills are going to.
Although the Dolphins are a little bit more expensive at 13.5 than the Bills are at -13.5. But yeah, I mean, no thanks.
I had to get one right here. Okay, Patriots Chargers. This is the afternoon slate.
I like this game.
This is a good game. Mac Jones has played really quite well for an offense that doesn't have a ton of weapons. What'd you have this one at?
6.5 Chargers.
Wow. Okay. I was short here. I said Chargers favored by 4.
It's 5.5. We're not that far apart because how much 5 matters. 6 is a little bit of a mattering number. So we're different here, interestingly.
So why did I say this was this low?
Well, because New England is not that far away from being an okay team, right?
Yeah, and I guess here's the other thing. And I know the Chargers are coming off a bye, so maybe that gets them the extra point here. But there are a couple of factors here. The first is that Justin Herbert's second year, right? But I still like Bill Belichick against a young quarterback.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Were you sure?
I actually think Brandon Staley's the better coach in this game.
That's not a question.
But
there's no debate there. But I'm simply saying from a defensive scheme perspective.
Yes, that's true.
And I also feel as though the Patriots fans will be pretty prevalent in Los Angeles.
That's a good point. I think the Chargers' home field advantage is probably lower than most teams. And that could swing things.
Great time for people from Boston to make a trip out to Southern California.
Here's a question. Do we like under 48 in this game?
I could be tempted there.
Because I think both teams I think New England really likes to play that kind of game, right? Yeah. Even though they scored. Are you getting a premium? Are you getting a good bettable number at 48 because they got 54 points this past week, and because the Chargers, as interesting, the Chargers have played all but one of their games under the total so far this year, I think.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I do like that. I honestly like the Patriots plus 5.5. I think that's solid.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So
I kind of hate it, but I don't know. At some point,
Belichick plus the points might not suck. The hard thing is, okay, the Chargers play a very solid defense that can take away teams that don't have, like, who are the Chargers going to struggle with on defense? It's going to be the Buccaneers types with a lot of receivers. It was the Ravens when the receivers, they had the Ravens had a bunch of receivers click against them on that one game.
I mean,
New England's not that team though.
Yeah, that's fair. I guess I'm looking more at like where we still have the Chargers power ranked, only about a point or so better than the Patriots. I don't know.
And it's only going to come closer after what New England did. I think New England, even though they played a terrible Jets team, they played them well enough where that is still, I think they'll converge a little bit. And going into the season, both these teams had the same win total. So how much has really changed over, the Chargers had two very impressive but also very fluky wins against the Chiefs and the Browns where they needed fourth down conversions to, so maybe it's, whereas New England lost a game to the Dolphins where it was mostly turnovers and bad luck.
Yeah, that's fair.
So, okay, let's go New England then. I like that.
Jaguars, Seahawks. Trevor and Geno.
Jeans.
What? And we're going to see Geno tonight, and I cannot wait.
Yep, it's going to be
Can't wait. I had trouble figuring out what the hell this spread was going to be. I guessed Seahawks minus 3.5.
Ooh, I said Seahawks minus 2.5.
Minus 3.5 it is. Look at me.
Okay, so do you want to take the Jags off of a bye,
No.
Short rest for the Seattle Seahawks?
This is my I will not bet on Urban Meyer face.
Okay, because I'm going to. And so we're not going to write it up, obviously, because you and I have to agree.
Talk me into it, please.
Okay.
Please.
Without Russell Wilson in the mix, who has the better roster?
I still think it's the Seahawks.
Okay, I don't disagree with you, but take away the top 5 players on both sides. So from player 6 through 53.
You think the Jaguars are good from player 6 through 53?
No, but I think the Seahawks are illegal in Texas.
Right, but that's because Jamal Adams drags that down so miserably. especially from
You know
a
what?
cost
But like,
perspective.
and when you watch Trevor Lawrence play the last few weeks,
He's played well.
He's
That's
played.
fair.
I mean, this is a better quarterback getting more than a field goal off of a road bye, right? That's a road team on a bye against a team. And think about this: it would be hard if it would be hard.
Do we know what Urban did during the bye?
I think it would be easier to enumerate the things that Urban didn't do during the bye than to try to find out what he did do.
We're all sinners.
We're all sinners, saved by grace. So we are. My bets are all sinners,
By the way,
saved by grace too.
that
by
was
the way.
his wife's tweet was, "Hey,
Yeah.
don't you dare! We're all sinners.
Yeah.
I'm sure all of you have cheated on your wife in a bar in public.
Yeah.
So don't cast the first stone. Don't you dare."
All the stones are to be cast at best. So, but you have a backup quarterback on
All
short
sinners.
rest against a team with a bye, a rookie head coach, by the way, who, like, I'm assuming everything's swimming. You get the bye week, you get a young quarterback getting his first bye, and also, like, this is my worldview. Seattle stinks, and like without Wilson, like, and I know that the Jags stink, but if I take two teams that stink against each other, I'm going to get the one getting points and the one who has a quarterback who has a chance. And Geno Smith doesn't have a chance. So I like the Jags getting plus 3.5.
Okay, that was very compelling. I mean, I do like the hook. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
It's hard to imagine the Seahawks blowing a team out, and I feel like for the Seahawks, blowing a team out is winning by 4 or more points. The Washington football team plays the Denver Broncos.
Think about how long ago Seattle plus 3 against Indy felt.
A long time ago. That was, yes, free money, by the way. The Washington football team and Taylor Heineke play the Denver Broncos and Teddy Bridgewater. This will be the game during the 4 p.m. slate that I will not be watching.
We won't even put it on the TV as
Jeez,
protest.
Lord in heaven. The most exciting thing about this game is that you have two really cool edge rushers in Von Miller and Chase Young. You have some cool receivers, and unfortunately, that's about where everything ends.
Taylor Heineke is the starting quarterback.
spunky. He's
going to be
spunky.
the starting quarterback for Denver at some point in time, right? It's just a matter of time.
Yes.
If they don't figure it out. I had Denver laying 2.5,
So did I.
and that's mostly because of rest, but also because Bridgewater's
interesting.
probably a little bit better than him.
So it's 3.5.
All right, we're taking Washington. Von Miller's hurt, right? So you're not going to get as much there.
And as you said, the Packers win and cover was
As fluky as it gets.
there were so many Washington the fumbles were ridiculous.
The NFL has to, and I know, like, we're not dumb and say, hey, just put a chip in the football. There's a chip in the football already. It's not going to solve it. You can help it solve. You can help,
Right.
with freeze frames and stuff. But like their inability to determine whether or not a quarterback sneak goes over the end line is bad. Like, it makes the league look bad.
It's remarkable. It's impressive. It adds excitement.
Variance.
The Buccaneers and the Saints, a Jameis Winston revenge game. This is in New Orleans.
Yeah.
I had the Saints getting 5.5 points.
I said 7.5.
It was pre-Sunday night, 4.5.
What?
Yes.
And this is because Tampa's injured. Like, that has to be it, right?
Tampa's injured.
New Orleans has a good team.
Here's what I think it is, honestly. I think it's what everyone saw New Orleans defense do to Tampa Bay last year.
Yeah. I mean, and New Orleans defense is not as good as it was last year. It's not as deep, right? Like, Janoris Jenkins is gone. Patrick Robinson's gone. David Onyemata, I think, might be back from a suspension by then. Marcus Davenport's dealt with injuries at linebacker. Their second linebacker spot is a kind of a question mark. But like, their first unit is really good still. Like, that's what they live off of in New Orleans. You can't, like, Jameis needs to be catching a full touchdown here for me to even consider New Orleans, right?
Yes. Would you consider the Bucs?
In a teaser? Oh no, that's my number, 7.5. If they were laying 7.5. Well, New Orleans coming off a short week. So here's a question, because we have New Orleans -3 tonight, right? It's now 4. It was 5, so there's some two-way action on this number. The only, to be consistent would be us saying, okay, we like Tampa now because it's only going to get better for us, right? It's only going to get out to minus. But, that's inconsistent with us liking New Orleans tonight against Seattle. That's my – and it's, if Seattle wins outright or loses, by
Well, if they lose, then that's not a good look. They're favored, right? So
yeah, but what I mean is we think New Orleans is going to win by 4 or more. And if they do, I don't think that Tampa becomes more favored. So taking Tampa now is sort of a hedge against losing this bet tomorrow or tonight. And do we want to do that is my question.
Yeah. I guess I'm trying to think about it more independently, though. Just on its face, is this the right number? Because
I don't think it is. I think we should lay Tampa Bay here.
So here are my concerns with that. Antonio Brown was sidelined. He's a pretty important, when they play real teams, he's a pretty important weapon for them to have. He was ruled out a couple of days before the game even started with an ankle injury. So unclear whether he will be back in this game. Gronk also injured. And the Bucs have a very banged up secondary. So the Bears are never going to take advantage of that. That's the thing. Where it looks really good against the Bears, and it could look really poorly, really bad against the Saints. That said, the Saints don't have a ton of great receiving weapons, so you could be in a similar situation there. Yeah, I think we lay it with the Bucs, to be honest.
All right. Cool.
All right, Sunday night. This is a good game. Cowboys go to Minnesota to face the Vikings. I have the Vikings getting a point at home.
You're right. I have them getting 2.5, and it's like a juiced one right now. Money line is Dallas -115, Vikings +110, plus 105 or so. So the Vikings are only a short favorite. Both teams are coming off of a bye. This is in Minnesota. Minnesota's traditionally done well at home. Home field advantage has kind of been weaker this year, though.
How do you feel about 53?
53. I think both of these teams in their wishes want to play a game under that, right? Especially Minnesota just wants to. Kirk Cousins, I said this before, only Andy Dalton had a lower average depth of target on throws in the first 3 quarters of games that were within a score. So the Vikings in the first 3 quarters, they turn Kirk Cousins into Alex Smith, and then when they get behind, they turn Kirk Cousins into fucking Joe Montana. It's weird.
Yep.
I think Zimmer is always going to be that way, though, which is why. In a weird way, the last 2 wins they've had have been probably bad for the franchise because ultimately I think they need to move on. But in this game, how much? Here's a good question. So we all think Dak is better than Kirk, and I think that's fair. But how much better?
I would say here's the thing that I keep coming back to. Kirk Cousins grades really, really well. He does so on a much smaller number of plays. And this is why that is important. When Kirk Cousins drops back to throw, people are surprised because the Vikings just run the ball so goddamn much.
Yeah.
And they put him in a position where his select number of throws have a really great opportunity to succeed because they're so seldom and they really do the most to make them go well. The Cowboys, on the other hand, Dak drops back to pass a lot more. And so the fact that he continuously wins there is more impressive. So I think it's, and you can see these numbers on PFF.com with our power rankings tool and how many points that we give to each of the quarterbacks. And Dak Prescott, you could make a case that Dak Prescott is tier 1 in that group, right? 7 to 8 points above.
I put Dak
level.
there. I put Dak.
I know he is. But that's kind of my
point. The question that if you answer the question, what would you trade? What would you take in a trade for your quarterback? And the answer is I wouldn't. Dak's the answer to that question. Dak's playing as well as anybody. The thing with Cousins, the hard part about Cousins is what you're saying is 100% true. Early in games, they restrict him to throws that he's really good at, and I don't mean to damn him faint praise, but he's very good at the throws they ask him to do. And in the fourth quarter, weirdly, when they're behind and stuff, what do teams play when they're trying to protect the lead? They play prevent defense, right? And like if you have two great receivers and you have a good arm and you're accurate, like you can shred that. And so like Kirk is almost always like his expectation level is higher, and I think even higher than like what our grades capture, right? And that's why he grades well in our system. The problem is, I think, if Dallas were to come into this game and say, look, we're just going to try to blow the Vikings out. We're going to try to play our game. We're going to do whatever we need, and the Vikings don't match that, it's going to be really hard for them to win this game.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing here is that that the Cowboys certainly believe that their best pathway to winning football games is running the ball. Like, that is very clear. And I don't know. I think both teams do want to run the ball here.
But don't you believe that the Dallas Cowboys know when they hit their pillow at night that they win because of Dak?
I was just trying to imagine what kind of pillows Jerry Jones has on the yacht. But when Jerry Jones hits whatever pillow he's resting his head on,
something at that hour.
I think he believes it's because they play Dallas Cowboys football.
Maybe.
There's no doubt that is what he believes in his heart. And he thinks that he probably gives Jerry Jones thinks that he's responsible for 51% of every Dallas Cowboys win. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah,
and
that's a good point. So, I mean, because I've already bet, like I told you this before the show, like I snuck a peek at this line.
Mm-hmm.
I've already taken Dallas. I don't necessarily, you might not want to, like my priors for the Vikings is I think that the faster that they converge to another year like last year, the faster that they can sort of build from a better beginning. And
what are we even talking about right now?
I want it, like I kind of like Dallas, and I want to see Dallas like cover this, and so that's
and that's why you've bet it.
And I also think they're better. So I don't necessarily know if you agree with that, but that's kind of like my take on this game. Is I think Dallas is better. I think Dallas will win this game, and I don't know if it'll end up being close.
I don't think there's any spread bet that you can make other than Dallas.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I agree with
Dallas. Dallas, I said this is what the Chiefs aspire to at this point.
Agree. Speaking of the Kansas City Chiefs, they play on Monday Night Football at home against the New York Football Giants. I have the Chiefs, and I couldn't believe this. I at one point thought that I could make the spread less than 7. I don't think I can do that. I have the Chiefs favored by 8.
I said 6.5.
It is
10.
Holy. Really?
Yeah. I don't think I want to bet the Giants, though. I don't think the Giants can be the team to take advantage of this sorry-ass Chiefs team. But the
Really?
defense for the Giants is pretty good. Maybe. You have Azeez Ojulari coming off the edge. You have Leonard Williams rushing from the interior. You have James Bradbury. You have a really good secondary. Patrick Graham's not a moron. I think he's actually a really good defensive coordinator.
I can't believe I'm saying this, but
The Giants are the side. You can't lay it with Kansas City.
10
No way.
10 is way too many points.
I know. And I truth be told, I was going to go to this game. I was talking to our friend and frequent podcast guest, Soren Petro, and we were going to plan it out. And then it got to like 4:00 this afternoon. And because it's Monday night, Sunday we're here, right? So like you go to Monday, and I texted him. I go, let's do it. Let's do it next year.
Yeah, I mean, it would suck to travel all the way to Missouri to watch the Chiefs put up 3 points. That would really suck.
Yeah.
Look, a low-key component of this too is Mahomes got tattooed in this game against the Titans.
Yeah, he got smashed.
I mean, he got
They've had to
hit.
put Henny in. Henny had 10 completions today. That's how long he played. Yeah, and the Giants are like you remember how
10 is too many points.
You remember how Detroit played today, where they went fake punt, they went onside kick.
Oh,
you know Joe Judge is going to do that stuff against the KC Chiefs. Yeah,
maybe. Okay,
maybe.
Our article with the bets that we like most will be up probably when you're listening to this in the morning. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. We love you all. Peace.